And now, the World Situation Report with Kimberly Gogan from the Office of The Guardian. Russia and Ukraine have agreed behind the scenes to end the war. All that is left is the media campaign. And big changes are going on at the United Nations as the Order of the Dragon and the Rothschilds continue to lose power. And the internet tells you that Lionsgate starts on the 28th of July, but that is simply not true. All this and more on today's World Situation Report.
Now, here is the World Situation Report with Kimberly Gogan from the Office of The Guardian.
Good afternoon, good evening, and good morning, everyone, depending on where you're listening. Today's been an interesting day all around. Lots of news to report, so I'm going to go ahead and get started. In the regular news, well, sort of regular news, let's just say before it's mainstream news, Russia and Ukraine have been in talks in conjunction with the Chinese government and some with the U.S. government to end the war in Ukraine, or war with Russia and Ukraine, I should say. This was prompted by a complete and total lack of funds. It has now come to Russia and Ukraine's attention that the Chinese were backing both sides financially for quite a while. That's China's deep state. Whether that be directly from China or that be indirectly through the United States. So if you remember back a couple years ago when the war first started, and you're new here, China pretty much has been in about 80% control, if not more, of the United States government. And they have been for quite a while. But in this particular case, they were the ones that were the force behind prompting all of that crazy funding and free weapons and all of the U.S. support for Ukraine, including but not limited to the alleged bust that was going to go up in the Capitol building of Zelensky. And the dog and pony show that Zelensky did for Congress not that long ago, and the visits to the U.S. And China was the one that was prompting all of this, supporting all of it, and making the deals behind the scenes as to how much money was going to go where and why. A lot of this control had to do with the Federal Reserve and their alleged former stake in the Federal Reserve. In their ability to provide funds through Marduk and other ways of providing funds. Then, of course, they allegedly said that they were the ones that provided the funds in 2012 and a few years after to the U.S. And also, they were told, everybody was told that the Trump funds actually came from the Mei Hua in China, which was not true. I am not Chinese, and my name is not Mei Hua, nor will it ever be. And Mei Hua is just a title anyway. So that is good news for Russians and Ukrainians and all the countries that have been bleeding out the ears, spending money on supporting this crazy show over there on behalf of China's deep state. So hopefully we'll start to see this trickle into mainstream media. I'm being told no later than mid-August is when we should hear about it some more. They may be waiting for a celestial event, and I know that's a shocker for you guys, to see if something comes their way. But by that point, it'll obviously be too late. And with today's shenanigans, which we'll go into in a few minutes, it should be extremely obvious to these people that no one's coming to help them. But you never know. They could be waiting for a full moon in August. We don't know at this point. Okay, next bit of regular news that is interesting. There is a lot of buzz going on around the United Nations right now and within the walls of United Nations power sector, that the United Nations Security Council has agreed to disband the council due to their lack of power and the fact that hardly anyone in the world is listening anymore. This is no surprise because what they did was build a system based on fear and greed, and right now the United Nations and NATO cannot provide either. They spent a lot of money in the Middle East and in the Gaza Strip, a lot of money in Ukraine. And if you remember a few months back, we were discussing about NATO's big operations all the way from Armenia through to Albania, Turkey, movement of a lot of weaponry into Jordan, Yemen. They've spent a lot of money that they did not have recently trying to get this World War III scenario underway. There's also been a lot of talk about nuclear threats and China and Taiwan. That is very expensive. So right now, everything seems to be at a standstill. NATO is wondering why there's no money coming, especially today, because today was supposed to be another one of those days ending in Y where everybody was expecting to get money, including the Global Headquarters Group, the Order of the Black Sun, the Trump operatives, and everybody else was expecting to get money today. Now, they are all increasingly aware behind the scenes that there's a new currency, and they don't really understand it. They don't really understand why we did it. And quite frankly, at this point, from what I've been hearing all around, I don't really care that they don't understand it. There is a lot of calls that we have been getting from various countries who would like to own their own currency. That call came in from, let's just say, one of the countries who wants to end the war, and it's not Ukraine. You know, I got to be honest with you, and when it comes to Russia, I personally have been there. I've spent quite a bit of time there, off and on throughout the years, and here's my impression. Right now, I know what's going on behind the scenes because I looked into it. There is a big fight right now going on between what we call the oligarch clans in Russia. The oligarch clans are either loyalists of the Order of the Dragon. In this case, you would call those that are with the Order of the Red Dragon, which originates out of Russia. Then you have other clans that would be loyalists to the Order of the Black Sun. The Order of the Black Sun would be people like fake Putin and a lot of the old KGB agents and so on and so forth on that side. The ones that want to revive the USSR would be the Black Sun. They would love to have no God, of course, their God is death. And then on the flip side, the Red Dragon folks would like to have another czar back because it's easier for them to control. You know, they used to be, back in the day, they saw themselves as the kingmakers of Earth. In reality, they were never the kingmakers. They were just the town crier for the kingmakers, if you will. They were the ones that passed down the orders and information from on high, non-humans on this planet, which would then give the information down as to who was going to be the king of what country. And Russia is no exception here. So the fighting between the two groups and the shakeups that have been happening recently, not only there, but also within the United Nations and also here in the US, are all interconnected based on the fact that the Order of the Dragon promises money on a particular day, and then the Order of the Black Sunites, you know, your Trump operatives, ETAL, are promising money on another day. And every time one fails to perform, the other one steps up and makes their promises, and they fail, and then the other one steps up on the other side, makes their promises, and they fail. But the